So each minor scale has a relative major scale, and you can find that by looking at your tonic here, which is your first note in your scale, in this case D, and you can count up 3 semitones. So 1, so let's just place a note here and just count up 1, 2, 3. So that lands us on F. So I know that F major is going to use the same notes as D minor. Hey guys, Bound to Divide here with Ableton Tips, and today I'm going to be showing you what transposing is and how to do it in Ableton. So simply put, transposing is the act of taking a group of notes and shifting them up or down in pitch, usually for the purpose of changing the key of a song or a vocal, and this can be done with your MIDI notes or with audio files. So if you have no idea what I just spoke about, I'm going to give you a little brief music theory lesson here. So if we have a look at our piano roll, you'll notice that there's these black and these white keys, and it looks like there's hundreds and hundreds of them, but in actual fact we've really only got 12 different keys. You'll see here we've got 3 black notes, then 2 black notes, then 3 black notes, then 2 black notes. So it's essentially just the same 12 keys repeating over and over again. And a scale can be built usually from 7 of these notes. So for example, the scale C major starts at C and it's using all the white notes. So we can just add these notes in here. So let's go C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And if I copy all of these notes and then bring them down to here, you'll notice that we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B. I'm just going to delete these. So that just illustrates the point that I was trying to make, where we've got the same 12 notes repeating over and over again, and you can play the same scale at many different octaves. Okay, so if we have a look at this, these notes are separated by spaces. In the case of this major scale, we've got one space, no space, one space, one space, one space. And in music theory, these are typically called whole steps or half steps. And your major and minor keys have certain formulas you can write down and remember or memorize. And so for a major key, it goes whole, whole, half, whole, whole, whole. Your minor key looks something like this. So if we were to make a C minor scale, it goes whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole. Okay, so if that's the formula for a major or minor key, that means technically these notes in this order should work for all different major and minor keys. So for example, if we wanted to turn this C major scale into an A major scale starting at this note A over here, we could simply take all of these because it's just a formula, and we could shift them down or transpose them down, and now we've got this A major scale. So this is why transposing is so useful, because you could write a melody or a chord progression in one key and very easily just push the down arrow or up arrow on your keyboard and shift the entire chord progression or even the entire song into a different key. Okay, so let me give you some practical examples of this. Here we've got a loop, and it's basically just a chord progression and a little arpeggio, some sub bass. It sounds like this. So let's say I wanted to try this in a different key, because sometimes certain instruments maybe sound better in different registers or different frequencies. Let's try and change the key of this track. It's currently in D minor. Let's move it into C minor, for example. So if we look, here's the D, and C is just 2 steps down. So we can take all of these, can select all of the notes and just hit the down arrow twice. And now this chord progression is going to be in C minor. I'm going to have to solo this chord progression when I play it now to hear it, because all the other channels haven't been transposed yet. It's going to sound like a big mess of notes. Everything's going to sound out of key, and I'll show you what that sounds like. Warning, it's going to sound bad. Okay, so let's just solo this, and I'll just prove to you that this chord progression will work in any key. So it still sounds really nice. It's just been essentially just moved down to a lower pitch. Let's try something up higher, like F minor. Yeah, I think that works really well. Okay, so let's say we settle on F minor, but the rest of our channels are not in F minor yet. Here you can see this one is still starting on the D, and if we listen to it, it sounds out of key. So what we would need to do then is to transpose everything into the same key. And there's a quick way to do that. You don't want to sit there and do it one by one for each clip. So in Ableton, you can select multiple MIDI clips or multiple audio clips and transpose them at the same time. So to do that, we're going to first move this back down to its original key of D here, D minor. And then I'm just going to expand these so you can see that these are just all our MIDI clips. The rest is audio stuff. And then we're going to just select basically all of our MIDI clips. So we're going to click on our uppermost left MIDI clip over here and then hold shift and click on our bottom right clip. So now all of them are selected, and you can see here we've got all this MIDI information that's been selected. Now the problem is we've got focus turned on, so it's only allowing us to edit one of those MIDI clips at a time, and we can choose which one we want to edit by selecting them over here. But what we want to do is move all of the notes. So we've got to just turn focus off, and then we can grab all of them and we can shift them up. So we can see our bottom note here is D, and I want to shift them up to F. So I'm just going to grab all of them and hit it up twice. Is it? No, sorry, one more. And now everything will be in F minor, and we can listen to that and we'll hear it. Yeah, I think it works really nice there. So now we've got some audio clips over here, which is just basically like a little guitar sample. And that's still in D minor. So we also have to shift that up.
Just a quick break before we go back to the tutorial. If you find these type of videos helpful, we can highly recommend the PML Academy with over 35 full-length online courses, spreading over topics like writing chords and melodies or arranging your songs to producing entire songs from start to finish. So check out the link in the description to see what's inside the All Courses bundle exactly.
So now I'm going to show you how to how to transpose audio, and that is by using this little pitch control over here. We can just hit the up arrow or just drag it with our mouse up or down, and you'll see the little number change over here. So now we know we've gone up one semitone. So it's the same as taking our MIDI note here and just shifting it up one like that. So now we know that we need to move that from D to F. So we just need to count how many semitones it is. From D to D sharp is 1, to E is 2, and then up to F is 3. So I know that I need to take this and shift it up 3 for it to be in key. So 1, 2, 3. And now let's just hear that. And in context, sounds like it's in key. But now we've got two audio clips that we need to transpose. So let's just bring that back down to 0. You can also click on the knob over here and then just type a number on your keyboard. So I'm just going to type 0 and hit enter to go back to its original. And now we can just select both of them by clicking on the first one, holding shift and clicking on the second one, and then we can shift these both up to 3. And now they will both be in key with the rest of the music. Okay, so that's how you transpose MIDI and audio. Now I'm going to give you a couple more use cases where we're using a vocal, and this is probably one of the most common use cases where you've got a vocal sample that's in a different key and you want to put it into the same key as your track. So I'm just going to shift these back down to D minor again, back to 0 over there, and then we're going to click on this and click on that and select all of the notes and drag them back down to D here. Okay, so the first vocal I've got over here is in minor. So I know that I can simply just pitch it from its original key, which is C sharp, to D. So from C sharp to D, if we just have a look at our piano roll again, C sharp is this note over here, and we want to get it to D minor. So it's already in the minor scale. All we need to do is shift it up one note. So let's just hear how this sounds originally. Sounds out of key, doesn't sound too great, but the vocal's nice, so I think it'll work well if we transpose it. Let's transpose the whole vocal up one semitone. Okay, so that works nicely. So another use case you might come across is where you write a track that's in a minor scale, like ours is in D minor, and you find a vocal that you really like that's in major. So in this case, this one is in F sharp major. So you can see that in the file name over here. And you can't simply take something in major and shift it down to the same minor key. So if I take this from F sharp major and I drag it down to D sharp, it's not going to work, because if you remember back to our little theory lesson over here, if we have two things in the same, starting on the same note, so here this is in D major and this one's D minor, you can see there's different notes, different combination of notes, a different formula. So it's going to sound out of key if we do that. And just to prove that, we can shift it from F sharp major down to D major, which is -4 semitones. And let me just play this.
I don't know why it's stuck in me. I like but how you taste.
So you can hear it sounds like certain notes are out of key, certain parts of the vocal are in key, but certain parts of them are out of key, and that's because of the different formulas that we use for major and minor. So how do we get this major vocal into a minor key? Well, here's a little bit more theory for you. So each minor scale has a relative major scale, and you can find that by looking at your tonic here, which is your first note in your scale, in this case D, and you can count up 3 semitones. So 1, so let's just place a note here and just count up 1, 2, 3. So that lands us on F. So I know that F major is going to use the same notes as D minor. And we can prove that by taking all of these and copying them up here to F. And here we can see all the notes line up. And if I just copy this pattern and drag it up to the next octave, we can see that every single note corresponds with each other. So we can take what we've just learned and apply it to this vocal. So we've just said the relative major scale is F major, and we can see that the vocal here is in F sharp major. And F sharp major is this note up here. F sharp is just above F. So how do we transpose F sharp major down to F? We just drag all of the notes and hit the down arrow once, or we can come in here to this one and we just hit this down arrow once. So now this vocal should sound in key with the rest of our loop. And let's just check that out.
I don't know why it's stuck in me. I like but how you taste. Give me the signs, I'll take the step for you.
Okay, so there we go. Hopefully you've got a solid grasp on transposition in Ableton Live. If you want to take a deeper dive into music theory, make sure to check out the courses linked below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.